Welcome to another interview show at the Voice of Fashion. My guest today is Shrayana Bhattacharya, author of the delightfully engaging new book, Desperately Seeking Shah Rukh. Intelligent, charming and illuminating, says Abhijit Banerjee on the book, The Nobel Laureate. We agree. Shrayana takes us right to the intersections that the Voice of Fashion works on in creating content. Congratulations on this intersectional book.
My sense of at least the 15 years of the research is that very much, I think, for women in the book, because each of the women in the book, as you know, and those who read will find out, they're all deviating from this very standard script of what a good woman should be, which is that all these women should ideally stay at home and be good mothers and get married and ideally not work outside the home. But each of the women in the book is defying that norm. And so they're trying to make themselves, right? They're trying to actualize their ambitions. And dress is a very important part of that, because they all want to then dress to be comfortable, dress to also assert their growing purchasing power, their independent income. But Shefalee, it's different based on class groups. So for example, for a fairly upper middle class woman, being able to buy a high street brand such as Zara is sort of her way of really wearing her independence. Whereas in rural UP, for a young woman like Manju in my book, for her, being self-made is letting go of the dupatta, letting go of always covering her head. And so, yes, dress is a very core part of actualizing your selfhood, and all the women in my book are trying to do that. But it's very different based on class, caste, community, just the way it manifests. Shefalee, Shah Rukh, because, well, first, I'm a Nutty fan, which I think now everyone knows, anyone who has heard of the book. But it was an accident. In 2006, I was doing surveys on women who were making agarbattis, incense sticks, and actually garment work at home, earning a quarter of a minimum wage. And when I went to do these surveys, we have a very traditional way we are taught, right? You ask specific questions. And I started asking women about their favorite actor. And that's where Shah Rukh came up. And then as I started to ask these women more about Shah Rukh, and I decided I would follow them for a very long period of time, moving from the slums of Ahmedabad to the villages of UP, again garment workers actually, then moving from there to forests of Jharkhand, domestic workers, and then others. I realized Shah Rukh represents markets, he represents purchasing power, because to be able to watch a Shah Rukh film, it means you have independent income.
Yes.
Shah Rukh represents a very different kind of masculine figure, because he's a kinder, gentler, progressive masculinity. Most of the women in the book completely ignore the stalker and more toxic parts of his iconography. They don't like that, but they love the lover. And the third is he is very much a sign of mobility, a boy from Delhi who then went to Bombay and really made it. And I think these themes keep coming up when these women talk about him. And in fact, now I would contend that it's not that they want to marry him, it's that they want to be him. They want his economic success and, his station and meteoric rise.
You write about Delhi as a sinewed character. Its flaws, its pockmarks, and its sexiness, the power sexiness, the swag that Delhi wears around. There is also a Dilli-pana in some of the characters that surfaces. Tell me, from the dermatology, some of the bored women, the gluten-free chilas, and the boorish nature of Latyan's laboratory characters, what is it about Delhi, our residents, both yours and mine, that holds you, compels you?
I spent a significant amount of time because of a certain love affair I had, and I write about, and I must thank the gentleman involved because he allowed me to write about it. Which was in the Lutyens laboratory. So the 20 people in this Lutyens laboratory who, in fact, over the years I knew them, many of them left Lutyens because Lutyens has changed as well. And the one thing actually I learned during that time was, initially when I went in, I dismissed the women in that space as, princesses. I write about it. But I realized I was so wrong, because each of these women was just contending with the hard labor of constantly looking perfect. This act of perfection was such difficult work. But we could never be friends because we come from very different worldviews. But the thing that really struck me when I think about that time is just the hard labor of beauty. It was not that these women were not working; they were working. They were just working on their bodies constantly.
In the book, your touch is light, and there are so many nuances, so the influence is intense. This is a formula that in creative writing or non-fiction, they tell you to get it right. You have.
Thank you.
I suggest you desperately seek Shah Rukh through Shrayana. And thank you for doing
While
this.
Shrayana is busy seeking Shah Rukh. Thank you so much for having me here, Shefalee. It was such a pleasure.